Good afternoon or good morning, uh, subscribers. This is another little video to help you with the topic of financial growth and loss minimization, which is that first syllabus dot point on factors driving global business development. It is a bit of a large one and a tricky one, so I hope this helps. So our definitions to pay attention to is globalization, which is really another way you could describe global business development. So globalization has led to global business development because it's led to this integration and interdependence of the world economies and cultures, which is brought about by an increase in international trade. So financial growth is what most businesses, unless you're a non-for-profit, are aiming to do. And in this case, as you become global, you increase your customer base, you take advantage of economies of scale, you have an opportunity to make your business a global brand thanks to increasingly e-commerce, which allows your business to enter any market because it's 24/7 and has a range of features which can make that happen. By minimizing losses, we are seeking to reduce our costs of production, which can happen through outsourcing or offshoring to companies or countries with lower labor costs. We use technology again through e-commerce, which can reduce our costs of things like rent. Further losses can be reduced thanks to improvements in transport and also spreading risks to avoid changes in the global market. So if we operate in a range of different countries, if there's an adverse economic situation in one, potentially by spreading risks, we can still maintain, some profit because we've got other sources of revenue and income coming in. So there we go. So in terms of financial growth, I've kind of talked about it already, but it's led to a global market for which businesses can take advantage of to sell goods and services around the world. So really now our customer base is limitless in terms of people who have access to the internet and can access our product. So there we go. E-commerce has allowed that to happen because now we have the confidence to buy things securely and easily over the internet. And as we continue to grow, that global brand recognition only improves the status of our business and continues to gain further customers. In terms of loss minimization there, we are looking to reduce our costs. So economies of scale is where it's an economic term, I suppose. It means a reduction in the unit cost of production. So as we expand the scale of our production, the unit cost decreases, which is great it's a key reason why businesses want to expand to take advantage of that economies of scale. Lowering labour costs is a big one. So in any industry, pretty much, businesses can take advantage of lower labour costs, particularly for us in Australia through the Asia Pacific, through offshoring elements or non-core elements of the production process. And spreading risks there can be a demand or supply side factor, taking into account unforeseen circumstances like natural disasters, political or economic conflicts. So this question or this syllabus point had not been asked for many years, going back pre-2020. So it did come up in the 2024 exam and it came up in the extended answer section. So bear with me while we go through a bit of a process that may help you analyse extended responses when you get a bit of a case study to look into. So you might like to pause the video at this point and get yourself a highlighter or maybe print off the next slide, or if you've got access to the 2024 paper, grab it from the SCARSA website. We'll just run you through a process that can help you with analysing as you read case studies in an assessment or as practice. Okay, so here we go. This is the 2024 paper, and we are just going to run through some things to look out for. So Jessica and Lexi, they're based in WA, so that's important because we know they're local to Western Australia, and also that it's a startup technology company. So straight away you're sort of thinking, okay, if there was a question from Unit 4 on sources of finance, that would be important to know because startups maybe don't have the track record, maybe there's only certain sources of finance which would be relevant. It's a tech company, so we know already that e-commerce is going to come into play. We know that potentially this business is global or can be global very, very easily. So you go, there we see it specializes in cloud storage. So that's the nature of the business. Okay. But again, ethical issues. If you're talking about cloud storage, you're talking about the control of data and where that data is kept. So that, for security and privacy, if I'm a school, for example, I'm not going to want my data held outside of Australia for security and ethical concerns. They are planning to expand overseas. Yeah. So again, if we're thinking about the feasibility of expansion, all these factors need to come into play. What's my, is there a demand for the product? Is there a large range of competition? What are the consumer purchasing and spending patterns which might help or hinder the business? So to facilitate the plan, Jessica has analysed consumer purchasing and spending patterns and tax considerations across many regions. So that's really, really important. So that analysis helps the feasibility of expansion by seeing if consumer spending actually, there is a demand for your product. Tax considerations, well, of course, all businesses want to reduce their taxation impact. So maybe that she's looking for opportunities for tax minimisation, like potentially tax havens or the opportunity to conduct transfer pricing, which is also part of the Unit 3 syllabus. So she's selected Southeast Asia as the initial foreign market due to its strong demand for cloud storage, particularly within the rapid growing online shopping sector. So there you go. So that's key. So there is a demand for the product that is really, really important. It's growing, the demand is increasing, there is going to be a large customer base, which potentially can lead to financial growth. So they're also aware of home and host country incentives for foreign trade. So that's a separate syllabus point as well. And those incentives only enable greater foreign trade by reducing your cost of production. They've discovered Vietnam in Southeast Asia as one of the next generation of high growth Asian economies. Really good. So again, we're investigating the economic factors like economic growth, and Vietnam is indeed growing. It is offering a significant grant of up to $700,000 for new technology businesses. So this is a host or home country incentive for financial, for trade. They're thinking of using this grant to establish their first Southeast Asian branch as a startup. Jessica and Lexi analyse the impacts of globalization carefully. So this is really, really important, not for financial growth and loss minimization, but this is the next syllabus point. Okay, so this is, if you know your syllabus, you guys, you should be picking up on things like that. So impacts of globalization, things like tax minimization, things like the domestic market, things like the spread of skills and technology, international cooperation, they all fit under this dot point. By opening offices in emerging markets and hiring local talent, really important, they plan to make a contribution to global prosperity. So that's the spread of skills and technology, empowering developing countries to actually improve. That further improves the global image of the business. The business adheres to the World Trade Organization, international trade regulations. Well, as an ethical business, it would have to. Now, there would be free trade agreements potentially in place between Australia and countries throughout Southeast Asia, so it would need to pay attention to the conditions of those regulations. Jessica and Lexi encourage both employees and consumers to share information and work together to spread new technologies around the world. Again, that comes back to an impact of globalization, where you share technologies to empower or enhance global growth and improving, particularly in countries like Vietnam, because the more people who can improve and earn higher wages, potentially the more demand for your product. The commitment to cross-border collaboration enhances technological progress beyond their business mission. Again, so that's the spread of technology around the world as an impact of globalization. So why am I highlighting all these, you guys? This is key quotes that you could use in your response to add to the value of that response. That's what the examiner is looking for. When making business decisions, they place a strong emphasis on ethical considerations. Okay, so We haven't been told here whether it's the role of ethics or ethical practice, but there's a lot of crossover between them. Central to that approach is a commitment to environmental sustainability, which we know fits into both the role of ethics and ethical practice from Unit 4, driving them to constantly explore and adopt eco-friendly practices with their operations. So you've got to think outside the box here a little bit, folks, and have a think about what those practices might be in a cloud storage company. Moreover, they meticulously assess the ethical implications of outsourcing, employing workers from different countries, offshoring, or the use of offshore labour, which is the role of ethics, to strive and uphold fairness and integrity across the entire supply chain. Really, really important. That is what an ethical business should do in terms of the role of ethics. The dedication to ethical conduct not only aligns with their values, but also fosters trust and transparency on a global scale. So you guys, there is a lot in there from many different syllabus points, but there's lots of clues that you need to hook into as a way to help your answer in the extended response achieve full marks. So just to give you an example, so describe 2 factors driving global business development. So again, what we are doing is I just put here just from the scars of list of verbs. So this is a pretty lower order question. So by describing, we're really only providing characteristics and features. Now the model answer you've got there is probably way above what is expected for 2 marks. But the key things to understand is that there is a definition. The other thing is I would strongly suggest in the introduction to any extended response, you set the scene. It is, I would argue, almost like a bit of a mini essay. Each question, you do have to have, I would strongly suggest you have to have an introductory sentence, which sets the tone for what you're about to write about. Then you get into a bit of a definition and explanation, and then you link it to the case study. So in this case, we've said that financial growth has been a factor driving global business development for the company JTS. It's been driven by e-commerce, which has led to an expanded customer base for the business to reach globally in a cost-effective manner. And then we quote from the case study. So it's selected Southeast Asia as their initial market due to its strong demand for cloud storage. So it links back to the business, showing that there is potentially an increase in customer base for the product ongoing. We could link in that Vietnam is also the potential growth area as well. That would be also an acceptable quote. So that's to do with financial growth, but now the loss minimization part really is about spreading risks. So by going global, it's spreading risks to ensure that there is a range of different incomes coming in, not just from one country. So for example, if the domestic market in Australia went through an economic downturn and there wasn't the demand for the product, by spreading risk and operating globally, you would still ensure a revenue stream for the business. That was a pretty long one, folks, but I hope it helps.